paper, and then you start to see that this is absolutely real. And so for me, I just remember that I had this idea of, since everything was sort of shut off, it was like nothing counted. So I painted quite a large one for my living room, which is one of the ones hanging in the show. And it was really, I just did whatever I wanted to, like, it was just free form and it was fun, and I wanted to play with color. And not that I normally would put, rules on myself, but usually I have a sort of a vision of what I'm doing. And I didn't have that at all. I just sort of painted, and then it stayed in my living room. And I always thought, well, I don't know if I could sell this because I can't explain it, because I just did it because I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
I found it really free. And then later on in the year, from then on, I had to paint for my show, which was in October.
Well, and a few of you had that. Carl had that as well. And Lisa did a body of work for a show at the gallery. So who else? Carl, you were getting in there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, all of my work is kind of an ontological inquiry into the nature of being. And I think what really came to the forefront over this year is that we're in a constant state of flux. Things are constantly changing. And where we've suffered is this belief that things would always be as they were.
Right.
And it's just not so. Things are constantly flowing and changing. And so, the pieces I chose for this show was a couple studies of water, waves, which are, metaphorical for me for change. The classic be the ocean, not the waves, right? They will ebb and flow and rise and fall. I also chose a study for a large painting that was at the White Museum a couple of years ago called Carousel. And because the other thing that has risen to the surface for me intellectually is that how cyclical time and the way we are arises for us. It's these things have risen and fallen for all of humanity, for all of time. This is not the first pandemic, and it will not be the last. It's not the first challenge, and it will not be the last. It's the very nature of being is cyclical. The Buddhist idea of samsara and this kind of cycle of life that we're just constantly in. And hopefully at some point you can step away from it and see it for what it is. And so I've been in that kind of inquiry this year, trying to get off the carousel.
Well, what about anyone else feel that sentiment as well?
I'd like to follow up on what Carl said. The pandemic happened and we couldn't predict it, although there have been lots of warnings. I had just come off a major exhibition at the Art Gallery of Calgary with a large installation called Salvage, Remnants of Hope and Despair.
Oh, Art Gallery of Alberta.
Art Gallery of Alberta, yeah.
I knew what you meant, but just so people know.
Yeah, I know. And I've always felt that our being is somewhat precarious. Our environment.
Right, of course. Yeah, you're more
so, and so all of the work was delivered to me from the Art Gallery of Alberta just before the pandemic hit. And it's all stored away in my studio. And I was planning to take a break anyway because I needed one.
Right.
And I was going to, dig up hundreds of slides that have never been digitalized. And I've been wanting to
get in there, get productive.
I did that. And, work on some proposals, work on some writing. And then I got rear-ended by a vehicle in May, which caused whiplash. And I absolutely couldn't go into the studio.
Right.
And I've only been back in the studio now for almost 2 months. And all that pent up energy, all that creativity, just being repressed by pain, essentially. And now all of a sudden I'm doing things I think that I've always wanted to do. And I had a chance to, because I was looking through, 25 years of work that had not been digitalized. I had a chance to review what I had done, since I graduated from art school. And it was really interesting. And I distilled everything down to a few elements related to line, color, shape, form, texture, formal elements, and decided that the new work I would do would just be about those elements. Normally I'm deep into, some social statements and this
Oh,
and that.
interesting.
And so now I'm just having a blast.
Yeah, you're just like, this is my fun body.
Excited. And it's a lot of fun. And so, what's that?
I said, yeah, it's like you can create your fun body of work. I mean, has anyone else, like Lori, what about you? Like,
well, I got punted right into having to put all of my teaching content into a format to present in Zoom. And so I got pushed away from making art and into this whole technological world. And so I am working on 2 bodies of work, but ever so slowly, because what I found over the years is all these technological things have come up that I kind of have to figure out and serve. My web person just retired, so now I've had to learn how to do my website as well. And so and trying to convert things so that I can present them in digital formats and online has been a real challenge. But the work itself, those 2 pieces that I put in the show, the landscapes, partly because it's like, what are you going to show people that they don't know about you? And it's like, well, most people don't associate me with landscape. I don't associate me with landscape. But I did those pieces a few years back, and they were shown, but only in one show, and they did really well. But they were a response to somewhere that year I had read something by some hoity-toity art person that said, well, you can't consider yourself a serious artist if you do still life or flowers or landscape. And I just thought, really?
I wrote that on the bathroom wall.
So I just threw myself at that time. I just threw myself into those. I had a brilliant idea for my series of landscapes. I did a series of flower paintings, which, not my thing, but I just thought, damn you.
Yeah.
And I did those, and I have loved those pieces ever since. And so when you said something that that you wouldn't think of that people would associate with you, I just thought those are perfect.
Oh, I know, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
They are beautiful.
Yeah, they are, and a lot of people have thought they were like photography, like they're just that, like the smoothness of them. But
darn it.
Okay, Lisa, you're next. Come on, what have you been up to? I know you prepared a big show for me in December, so you are busy in the studio as well.
Yeah, if I reflect, I've been reflecting a little bit on the year as I've been listening to everyone talk, and I think a lot of things that I had scheduled in 2020, like art related, were canceled or postponed. So it kind of opened things up a little bit as to what I would do with my precious studio time when I had it. That said, my kids came home from school in March 2020 and only went back to school January this year. So my studio time became very limited.
Yeah.
And then that said, I think that probably is the case for any artist parents out there. The lion's share of childcare probably fell on their shoulders if they had a partner who wasn't an artist, right? If you don't have a salaried job, then it's going to be your job to look after the kids. So that was most of 2020 was teaching my kids from home and then working in evenings and weekends, which is something I'm kind of used to anyways. But then within that precious studio time, I wasn't really constrained with what I wanted to do. So I felt really free to start new lines of research, and it kind of echoed what Carl was saying about it just sort of fitting into a year in the life of my studio, right? It was just kind of fit into that. But I make the most of those hours when I get them. So it, the work I put together for your gallery came together pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, because it was quite a lot of work too. I mean, come on, pat yourself on the back. That was an extensive, including for no one who's caught all the other little tidbits that I've done with Lisa, other live streams. I mean, she had a print that was 42 inches by 120 inches. Woodblock print.
I know. I just wish I had a giant studio that we all just want a 5,000 square foot studio to do all the things. I love working big, and it was tough finding the space to do it, but I really love doing that. And once I get into that zone, I'm sure it's the same for everybody.
Right.
you just get into that zone and work, and kind of a fun place to be in.
Okay, Heather and Sarah, I mean, you have a kind of a unique situation in that you started a collaborative work. So, I mean, maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, so at the, like, to kind of talk about how kind of the shutdown kind of affected at the beginning, I felt like I should be productive. We were supposed to have like an in-person opening on March 28th, and it didn't happen. Sarah and I both were supposed to have openings around that time. We both had to do something virtually, and we were texting each other, talking about how different it was. And Sarah kind of talked throughout the idea of doing a collaborative work. And I was excited by it because I felt like it was a time where I felt like I should be productive, but I wasn't motivated. And so it was something that was exciting to look forward to.
So you kind of were able to push. So she kind of pushed you a little bit then, is what you're saying. It's like,
yeah, well, I mean,
okay, you're doing this with me. Is that correct? I didn't speak for you, Sarah, but did you have the opportunity to kind of bully her into a bit of a collaboration?
Yeah, I called her up and I said, let's make something together. You know, I just really like creating problems to respond to, and collaboration is a really, it's an interesting problem to respond to. So yeah, we both created paintings and drawings separately and then delivered them to each other in little envelopes. And then they were all cut out little bits, and then we responded to them and made collages.
Okay.
Isolated, we never saw each other's collages. And then we brought them together and they were, well, I mean, I guess not surprisingly similar, since they both had our work in them.
For sure. No, and they're, again, like, I'm gonna try not to, like, people just come see the show, because like it is, there's some really great stuff in there, and a lot of fun pieces. So Karrie, last but not least, I mean, I know you've been kind of like, of course, with your, you know, your tattoo shop, there's been that too, like being closed, but did that give you some time to work on your own stuff, or how did it work for you? No, not so much. Okay. Oh, you're muted.
How's that?
Oh, there we go. Now we can
Better?
hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Okay.
No, it's been tough for me. Consecutively, it was 4 months, and we're probably gonna get shut down here again. We're just waiting for it now. The problem with that for me is it's now a way to supplement income and stuff. So my head kind of goes that direction, where I've got to like maintain the business and stuff like that, and then the kids were home from school and shit, so it was a lot at once, definitely. So creatively, I haven't done a lot of work on paper lately. It's just been whatever I can get rid of quickly is what I've been focusing on. And then I mean, the stuff that I've been doing lately is the work on the Cupies. It's not, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of it's a huge pain in the ass to tattoo those. It's not easy at all.
The Cupies, I thought they were like drawn, and then you're just like, no, they're tattooed.
They're tattooed. It would be so much easier to draw on them, but you wouldn't get that fine detail, right?
Sure. It wouldn't be the same, which I appreciate, right? It's because it is pretty amazing. Like when you take a closer look at it from, you know, some of the older work that we've had, like sculptural work where you've drawn on it, like it is a real different feel. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. That's obviously slow too, because I don't like it. I don't like doing them. I like when they're finished, and but the process is painstaking and super annoying, and I have had to like done a lot of troubleshooting with it too recently. So it seems like it's getting better for me, but like I have been sourcing them and stuff too, because they're all vintage, right?
Yeah.
So I have to find them.
But laughing. It's like, I hate it.
I do. The process is not fun, but
I know, but it really is amazing though. Like it's I've like really fallen in love with them. Like they do have their own personality, and that detail from the tattooing does make a difference, right? Because like the ink doesn't bleed and whatnot. But again, come see them in person, everyone. So I guess, okay, we've heard from everybody on that. Thank you. We're rolling around. What are we at? 5:50. And I mean, I guess you kind of answered this a little bit, but like, what did any of you find that it was a time for experimentation and play? A little bit? I guess some of you already answered that. Maybe just open it up again to a few questions. So either talk about like the idea of, maybe talk about what you're working on now. Like, what have you been up to? Like from this year, like what was the biggest change kind of, I mean, some of you hit on this too. You've answered some of you answered all this. So we'll just, like I said, we're gonna just.
That's because you were being so mean to us, telling us we had so little time.
I know, like,
and we had to be very concise.
You only have 7 minutes each. I guess like this is open up the floor to kind of where you're at now. Like, where is it going forward from here? Maybe that's a good way to phrase it, right? Like, you know, like with this year, and maybe feeling a bit more settled and able to, you know, finding those the new paths, or still playing or looking to more experimentation, or, I mean, and Lori, you teach a lot. Like, I know you teach a lot, and Chris, of course, you're busy with your interior design. Like, you know, kind of just maybe talk about where you're going in the next, like, you know, 6 months with the 6 months, year with the creative practice, right? Like projects on the go, etc.
Well, I'll start. I've got 2 little bodies of work on the go right now, and I can't see them being really finished within 6 months. It's going to probably take 6 months to a year to finish them. And then after that, both of them are things that people would recognize as mine. One is an illustrative project, and the other is, you know, just more of those still lifes. But I'm feeling like I'm kind of I mean, I don't wish to be in an accident like Terry was, but to kind of just blow off the long, you know, how you go for years and you build up these ruts in the road that you keep going on.
Yeah.
I would like to just blow that off somehow and just come into the studio. I want to do what Terry's doing.
Right.
Right. That's what I want to do. Just come in here and just spontaneously attack something like Chris did. Because my work, it gets pretty planned out.
Okay.
And in the past, I've really enjoyed that, just being in the moment. And I love that long process. But right now, I'm not feeling it so much because it's long. And
you need some play in your
I feel like I need some more play. And one of my series is basically my response to the pandemic was like looking outside on finding the bugs on my picnic table, on my patio, and you know, what are the birds doing in the hedge beside me,
right? That
kind of thing. And so I'm enjoying that, but I can definitely see the end of it. And I want to go where Terry is. That's all.
Okay.
Well, maybe
you guys need to share notes.
Yeah.
I've already said that I'm just letting myself explore some of my artistic tendencies that I've been doing for the last, 44 years. And I'm just kind of letting loose, but I'm also working more as well on my sculpture. And the pieces that are in the show are, there's 4 that you put up, or 6? 4?
Well, 4. There's actually 5 up right now.
Oh, there's 5. Okay. So that's 5 out of 56 that went into the Art Gallery of Alberta. And so this project began in 1982. So I'm still using elements from back then that I've used in many installations over the years. And I'm working on more.
Oh, okay. So you're looking at some sculpture.
Specifically though, I'm going to go until like I'm 90. I'll be 70 this year, so it's a banner year. And but what I want to do is find another large gallery like the Art Gallery of Alberta. And so I'm in the process of writing proposals to places across Canada for another place to put it, to install it in a different form, that it looks quite different, and maybe contextually. And I also feel like the title Salvage, Remnants of Hope and Despair, is incredibly relevant to this time. So that's my serious piece. And then the painting is just flipping out on, you know, stuff that I love to do and letting it go where it may.
100%. Who else wants to chime in? Do I have to pick you like a teacher, or who wants to talk?
I will. I find that after last year, or I guess it all still seems like the same year, I guess, since it's still the pandemic, I feel loose and free sort of in that sort of painting mode when I sort of get into that. I feel it shouldn't take a pandemic to tell me like, oh, anything goes, just do whatever you want. But that's kind of what it did.
Interesting.
Sort of.
Okay.
So I just feel that, well, it almost as if, well, it doesn't count. So just do whatever you want. And if it works out, it's like, oh, well, this looks good. So I'm kind of in that, and I've started to paint for a new show later on in the year. So that has really affected that from what I thought that was going to be.
Going in a whole other direction. That's exciting, right? You said it's freeing, like, you know, being able to be like, well, this was like, Chris 2020. Like now I'm like Chris 2021. Like
right.
And Chris, you and I are going to collaborate, Chris, remember?
And we are going to collaborate. Yes.
Chris and I are going to collaborate on some paintings.
Yes,
we're going to collaborate with a lot of people, different people, but I've never collaborated with Chris.
Okay, and who else?
I'm very excited, and I'm very flattered. It's just like,
me too.
Well, for sure, I'll do whatever. Yeah.
And two, Erda says, like, I'm very curious to see what happens with that, right? Because like there are similarities, but then so many differences, right? So anyway,
I have one of Chris's paintings behind me.
Oh, you do? Yes, exactly.
We traded.
Yes, we did. I'm not down there, but mine's like, I got the really good end of the deal.
Oh, I did. What do you mean?
Okay, who else? Who was cut off? Was it you, Heather? Were you talking? I can't remember who.
I can
interrupted.
I can speak a little bit. Yeah, I definitely been finding that I'm experimenting a lot more with different approaches on how I'm making work. I'm still using the same concepts.
Yeah.
But I think one of the exciting things about having done the collaboration with Sarah and doing future collaborations is that when I make a piece that I'm not happy with, I'm excited that I can cut it up. Right. So that's kind of a neat process to be able to look at pieces and be like, well, I like these parts and I can use them again in a different way.
So it's like a different perspective. And I mean, so there were the prints from that project, like, would you work collaboratively again, or was that kind of its own, like, is it an ongoing thing, or was that like done? I know you're showing them down the road too, aren't you? Like in June, I think, Heather, you mentioned that the originals are going to be shown.
Yeah, I mean, if Sarah wants to continue, I'm into it. So we do have a show that's coming up in June at Tilted Brick in Creston, BC.
That's exciting.
We're both doing a residency there, so perhaps lots of collaboration will come out of that. But yeah, Sarah, if you want to speak a little bit to that, if you have anything, I don't know.
Oh yeah, Heather, I have a plan. I just am imagining being at the residency, and I'm going to I have huge rolls of watercolor paper and paint, and we're just going to mess around for a while. And I mean, the interesting thing about the collaboration is that you can scale it up or down interaction wise based on like current COVID restrictions. So it might be that we're, working in the same room at separate times, or perhaps we actually get to collaborate at the same time, which will be interesting.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Oh, that's really neat. So, but how long are you at the residency?
10 days.
In June, it's going to be beautiful, nice and green.
I can't wait to get out of this city.
And out of the winter, right? Like, come on, we all just need a little bit of a break too. Like, and that's vaccines. And sorry, I just was going to say, I think that's also, like, you can feel it with everybody, not just with the creative types, but we're all kind of just, at now being the year in and having our first like long winter with it all. Yeah, no, that's exciting for you guys. So is this the Empire of Dirt residency?
Yeah.
I know. I've heard amazing things about this place. I haven't been there, but yeah. Okay, who else? Like Lisa, Karrie, let's go back to you, Karrie. What do you got going on? I know you said you're just preparing to probably be locked down again, but like what, I mean, you're playing with the cupies, troubleshooting with your little cutie baby dolls, but what else do you have going on? Like
more baby dolls.
Yeah, more baby. I know you sent me a picture of her. She has a box of them, like a box.
Yeah. So get those done. I have so much like paper and old portraits and stuff to work on. Like there's more here in my house than I will be finished before I'm dead. So it's just a matter of, you know what I mean? Like being motivated enough to start drawing on them again. I feel like I have a lot to say. It's just, it's the motivation to be creative at this time. It's just been really stifling for me. I don't know why. I think maybe just because, like I said, everything's been shut down and it's just a bigger course of can't work, and been so used to having that creative outlet for, like, I've been tattooing for 21 years. So it's like for that to just come to a screaming halt and then figure out a new way to make income and then also keep your business alive. It's like the last thing I wanted to do was to talk about my work and then put that kind of stuff on paper. But maybe now, because I think I have lots to say. It's just having that motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I can relate to that certainly as a small business owner too, right? Like it's not been easy. So and I mean, thankfully I have not had to close. And that makes such a huge difference too. I mean, that's like your livelihood now suddenly, like you're just so
it's weird.
So of course, like I get that. I mean, that's just it. I think that we've been talking a little bit back and forth, you and I too, about also planning a show down the road, because it's time for the Arthurs the show.
Oh, then I'll have to talk more.
You will, but it's getting easier, don't you think? Like it's definitely getting easier. I mean, it's like all online. We can just look at each other this way, like a big Brady Bunch, like family here.
And some of us have trouble shutting up.
Yeah, no, I know. Carl, surprisingly quiet. Do you want to talk about
Carl?
Hey, I felt like I was hamstrung. I was going to sit quietly for the whole
You did sit very quietly.
I'm doing pretty
good.
Are
you live? Are you live?
Those pills you gave me worked wonders. I'm dull and numb over here. I'd love to talk. I have 6 minutes left, by the way. I do have a timer here.
I'm watching.
One piece that emerged actually during this is a piece I made called Love Letter. And it was a piece that's in the Art Gallery Grand Prairie right now, in an exhibition. And the intention of the piece was I wrote 300 love letters and I attached them all to this piece. And the idea was that every viewer can come up and take one of them. And, it was just kind of I'm always kind of interested in taking the velvet rope away from art and having people engage with it and touch it. And, it's just that kind of anti-establishment in me. And anyway, what occurred was these really beautiful moments in which people kind of, I think as a result of being isolated and locked down, there was this kind of human connection that occurred in the receiving of a letter, this kind of antiquated notion of, I was talking with a good friend the other day about like how we used to write letters to, the person we had a crush on in our classroom.
Corey Hart.
Get these letters.
Corey Hart, lots of
letters.
Oh my God.
What a touching kind of human experience. And so a few people took these letters and it was a really emotional kind of interaction that occurred. And that kind of opened up something for me that was really interesting, this idea of it possibly even becoming kind of a global exchange.
Right.
Carl,
I actually had a really great meeting yesterday.
Did they write you back?
Like sharing the love.
Well, that's the intention, that they would be able to maybe almost pen pal like. And this anonymity in which we could write anything we want. And I actually had a great meeting yesterday with a team out of Singapore in this whole NFT crypto world. We're looking at creating a digital love letters in 15 different languages that will kind of spread across the globe. So yeah, just kind of really, I got a really strong sense of the value of art to humans in this time. You know, I've had people reach out to me just thanking me for making things, you know. In fact, I think I shared with you, I had a really quick anecdote is CRA, you know, those bad guys. Yeah, I know everyone makes that face. They phoned me, you know, asking
I've
for
been
money,
audited,
of course.
have you?
Yeah, they called asking for money, and I said, well, you know, I'm an artist and blah, blah, blah. And she immediately was like, oh, I'm sorry, you know. And that was a joke, guys. You're supposed to laugh.
Not
there.
years of records.
And did she give you guys those pills too? And then she actually said to me, thank you for making things during all of this. Thank you for creating and like giving us, you know, a place to kind of connect through like a human expression. And it was a really beautiful exchange. And I've had so many of them throughout this time.
Okay, so did you get the number
really
for
made
this
me
Yeah, I want
agent?
that agent.
Yeah.
I want that agent.
All
Next
artists
time.
are going to want this agent.
We're going on a date. She sounded lovely. Yeah. And yeah, it was just like, I see the value, and it's like, I'm really committed to making art that matters, you know, that's not just what I want to do. It's not just pretty pictures. It's not just landscapes, Lori. It's I'm just joking. But it's like, you know, it's yeah, it revived my belief in what art is about and for. So
well, and thank you, Carl, because honestly, that's really what I wanted this this like panel, this webinar to be about, right? Is for, I guess, people to kind of understand more like what creatives, like what visual artists have been doing, like, you know, in a similar way, kind of also hidden away from the public and trying to avoid this and that, but that, you know, but like as creators, like what, you know, how they're kind of impacted by it, where they're going with it, right? And so and I think that's important and very valid.
But
so,
you know, I have talked to over the past year, I have talked to a number of artists who have been very depressed by this and almost paralyzed by what has happened. And yeah, I was injured. And yeah, my dad was really sick and died in January, almost 99. But I found that I was feeling pretty down. Right. And that's not a really good way to go into the studio.
Yeah.
You know, when you're feeling really down. Mm-hmm. And I certainly felt that. I mean, I had a good excuse, whiplash, back and forth to Regina, help out my parents, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I think maybe I might not have done much anyway, you know. And the last couple of months has just been kind of a new breath, new energy for some reason.
Well, good. And
maybe because I got my vaccinations.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
That helped.
Good. You know, from the teaching side of things, you know, apropos of what Carl is talking about, I'm amazed. Enormous numbers of people are now more interested in learning about art and taking art.
100%.
Signing up for lessons.
Good.
Buying art supplies. These kinds of things are on a massive upswing. So I think long term, I mean, people are new to this, so they're quite shocked when they first dip their toes in. But I think it's a really positive thing.
Yeah.
And it is, many people have said to me, they feel like art lessons are like an antidote to the depression and to the sadness and to the sense of loss that everybody has. And the fears, like we don't, you know, we feel like we're standing on quicksand. And if we move, we don't know, you know, we just don't know. So art is a wonderful, I don't want to say panacea, but it gives us hope.
Right.
It can be therapeutic, right?
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
But when you're in the game and you're in it deeply, it can be quite different.
It's a different story altogether, but
Yeah,
the new people don't know that yet.
No.
Yeah. Well, and it's different also, I mean, on that note too, right? I mean, it's different obviously for people who are interested in taking some classes, and somebody who's, you know, whose life has been as an artist as well, right? Yeah. I mean, I know that's kind of what you were saying too, but it's but also great that people are looking, to creativity as kind of like an outlet, you know, for it.
Well, in my experience as a teacher, once they start learning about how to make art on their own, that makes them much more curious and open to exploring, okay, oh my God, there are people who've been making art all along. What are these people doing? What is this all about, really? Like, and so it opens them up to all of us and what we've been trying to do all along. And art can change people's lives from that perspective, and it has.
Right. There's an appreciation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Appreciation.
They make art themselves, and now not many, but some start to collect.
Right.
And love that.
Miracle.
Well, no, isn't that interesting? Because I guess I didn't really know that about, I mean, it makes sense. Like, it makes perfect sense. But of course that, you know, it starts a little bit of a chain reaction.
Yeah.
That may end up at collecting, but definitely gives a better understanding and appreciation of what professional artists kind of do, right?
Right.
You know, Picasso said.
Okay, who's next?
Sorry, please.
Oh, I just want to tell Lori that you were my teacher.
I remember, Sarah. It's really, really good to see you here. I love seeing you here.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, you know, Picasso said art is a lie that helps us understand the truth, and it's true, right? It can be a mirror for that human experience, and I think that's what people are remembering, realizing during this time, right? That all the things we did to fill our lives, like running to restaurants and buying couches and going on holidays, it's kind of left us empty. And when we come to this place where we're isolated and we're, you know, questioning what it is to be on this planet, all of these things that we've spent our time pursuing have left us empty.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've started to look to things with meaning, right? Like everything from people gardening to making bread to reconnecting with art. Whether it's literature, whether it's music, whether it's painting, it's like, oh, this is a human expressing what it is to be alive. It's good, it's bad, it's up, it's down. It's like, and that gives us comfort. We find solace in that, you know, and so, yeah, it's not surprising to me that humans have gravitated to the arts once again, and long may we reign.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a wonderful, what you just said, Carl. Like my installation, Salvage, Remnants of Hope and Despair, it's about, you know, when everything falls apart, what do you collect? What is most meaningful? What is essential, you know, to keep on going? And I think that's what people have been doing, you know, whether it's baking bread, working in the garden, or shoveling snow, or
all of the above,
you know, all of the above. And I have to say to Lisa and Karrie that you know, I know what it's like. I raised 2 young children and was an artist at the same time in the 80s, and you know, it was really, really hard. But in a sense, those were the most productive years of my career, just because I didn't have a chance to do any navel gazing. As soon as I had an hour, I worked. I made stuff, and I worked damn hard, and I got a lot done until they went to school. Then I was able to navel gaze again.
Right.
But I wasn't able to do it for, you know, for years before they went to school.
Well, and one thing I want to, Lisa, I'm going to bug you a little bit here, because I know you did a post on Instagram recently too, that you are learning a new printmaking technique as well. So this is kind of a bit of an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, and thinking, like, listening to everybody, what everyone's working on right now, and thinking about my own practice, I always have way more ideas than I have time to pursue. So I really have to make careful decisions about where I want to spend that time. That said, I have all sorts of things going on right now. But yeah, one of them, for a long time, I've wanted to, for the last, maybe 10 years, I've done a lot of woodcut printmaking, but it's what we would call Western printmaking. There's a very, very different way of working that's called like Japanese woodcut. Other than carving the wood and printing it on paper, everything else pretty much is different. And I've wanted to do it for a long time. I guess this is like one of many silver linings of 2020 was like so much information was now online. So there's all sorts of like free workshops and things. So I pretty much just watched hours and hours of videos of people doing it. And I have a couple books on it that I've read. And so I've been starting to do some of that, which is great. Yeah. And I printed my first one the other week and it was great. And I loved it. And it's totally non-toxic. I'm used to like inhaling all the oil fumes from my like big like woodcuts like behind me, which I love the smell of them and stuff, but it's nice to have alternates and explore. I'm always experimenting and trying to explore new things. So that's one of many sort of different things going on in the studio right now.
Sorry, what is it? What is the new?
So like in Japanese, it's called mokuhanga, and it's just, you could just call it Japanese woodcut. So one difference is that it's essentially use watercolor paint and mix it with what's called nori paste, and that's what you print with instead of like an oil-based ink. And the way you apply the ink
like
with
the seaweed, the nori seaweed.
It's more like rice paste.
Okay.
It's called nori, but like a paste that you mix with the ink. So the way you apply the ink itself, the way you carve, the types of tools you use. I have one here. So normally if I was carving, I would like hold my tools like this and like carve. I usually stand up and work on these really big wood cuts. And then I have this like little Japanese knife, which one thing you do differently, like in outlining certain things on your wood block, is use this knife to start and you hold it like this.
Yeah.
Like this.
It's like a Dexter pose. Yeah. I mean, I was
and carve towards yourself, and it's super sharp. Anyway, so I've just been practicing carving, and it's like it's so great, right? Using a part of your brain that you don't get to use that often, like learning something. So.
Well, I thought it was just amazing to me that, you know, that, I mean, not surprising because I know you are like, okay, what's the next big challenge? Like I did the 10-foot woodcuts. So, so what am I going to do next? So of course you would, you know, just decide to totally reinvent how you carve and print, but also equally excited to see what you do with that. I mean, I have a bit of background in printmaking too, so I was like, what? So I'm really excited, really excited.
The only part that I'm a bit like not nervous about, but like I haven't used color in my work for so long. Yeah. Again, it's just one of these decision things. I need to make decisions about where to spend my time. So I'm like, color, I'll just ignore that for now.
Just get a pot of paint and throw it at one of your throwaways.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
But this technique really, really lends itself to color, and you could do it without color, but there's so many beautiful things that can come out of using color with it. So I'll be exploring that.
Wow.
Anyone else? Did we lose? No, we're still all here. We just changed, we shuffled or something.
Yeah.
Has anybody else like been like totally trying some completely new material or process? Like that just made me think too. It's like, I guess it makes sense. Like this is a time it's like, well, okay, you know, it's part of the play, the experimentation to maybe be like, well, and maybe instead of using acrylic, I'll use oil, or instead of drawing the Kewpies, I'll tattoo them, or whatever it happens to be, right? Like
I love those Kewpies, by the way. They are amazing, Karrie.
Thank you.
That's just they're a revelation.
Awesome.
But I've gone backwards. I kind of rediscovered an old school illustration technique. And so I'm just doing a little thing based on the bugs in my backyard, using that old technique just because it's old school. And I just kind of thought, it's COVID, you know, it's plague times. I can go back here and do this. And I've been really enjoying it, but I can see the end. I've been there. I did that. This will be my last hurrah with that.
Right. But it was probably different kind of going into it this time round. And and now you're like, you know, and maybe that was your little bit of play. I know you were saying that you kind of didn't have with Terry, but that was kind of, yeah, your little like, okay, like,
well, for this one, it was kind of like, well, I know this.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of immerse myself in this in a really relaxing way. And it has been really fun, but I'm already seeing, like I said, I see the end.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been good.
It's a constant state of flux, Lori.
Yeah, absolutely, Carl. I know the flux.
Always changing. Yes. Yeah. The ocean, not the waves.
That's right.
The forest, not the trees.
Okay, we still have 10 minutes. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to share? I mean, there's been so many kind of great points brought up. I don't even know where to kind of take the conversation. Like obviously,
well, I have a comment though. In addition to my sculpture in the show, I have some work that I did collaborating with dancers in the mid 2000s, and so I have this 6-part painting called "Dance Me 2," and in which you can, speaking of engagement, Carl, you can rearrange it whichever way you want. You know, I put it up a certain way, but if anybody wants to ever buy it, they can do that. They can put it any way they want to. And then I have an oil stick on paper, large oil stick painting from the early 90s called The Healer. And with a woman holding a baby, because, you know, I had young children and I used to do some baby stuff back then, which one curator told me in the late 80s was a career killer.
Right.
About subjects that you're not supposed to paint, you know.
Oh, like landscape.
Often like to tell women, you know, you can't draw children, you can't draw babies. That's the end of your career.
We've heard it all.
Yeah.
And I admit, I really love the color in that piece too. Like it is got those like really, you know, like those blues and reds, like it does really very much speak to that time, which is kind of also why I picked it in your studio, because I thought it was something unique, right? Like there is certain palettes that just kind of speak to a certain time too, and that one just, I don't know, it just made me really happy, like that deep blue and red combo, right?
Oh, cool.
That's beautiful figurative work too, Terry. Really.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
Well, Mutual Admiration Society, Lori.
Oh.
Come on, somebody say something mean about each
other.
Oh,
okay. You know we all love you.
Carl needs kissing.
I mean, you know that.
Come on.
There is a comment here that says, Heather's niece Maggie 5 wants to say to all, I love your art.
Oh, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie.
And Gus is apparently coming to say hi too. Hi, bud.
Oh, Christine.
Gallery dog.
Christine, what does it look like for people to come see this exhibition?
Okay, no, this is a good thing because we have a bit of time left. So as I kind of said in the intro, but I was so distracted trying to get it to go to Facebook. The gallery we can remain open. We, as a commercial retail space, we can remain open. But what we are doing is, because we know some people are a bit more concerned about, safety, is that we have by appointment only on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So you can go on the website. There is an appointments tab that you can book an appointment for one of those 2 days. And we are also open to the public to come and see the exhibition. Just, pull up, park, come on in. Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 10 to 5.
Isn't there a limit though to how many people you can have?
We have like a limit. I'm limiting it to 12 people in the gallery right now. I have 4,500 square feet. So there's a lot of space for 12 people. Can pretty much be, in a 12-foot bubble, right? That's giving everybody a lot of room. Of course, I have lots of hand sanitizer on all that. What I'm also doing is on Saturdays I am having kind of like, like kind of open house style, like, Carl, I think, and Chris are coming this Saturday to kind of meet and greet with people. So within that, I'm asking that people will show up, but at the same time, I do have like a sign up. So we can accept up to 8 people to sign up on Saturday between 2 and 4 if you want to come down and meet the artists. And I will have it kind of rotating as well. I know I haven't talked to all of you about this because I've, of course, flying by the seat of my pants with everything. But certainly I'd love to have kind of like a little bit, whoever's comfortable with it, right? Like, but a little rotating group of artists to talk to people about the show. Because it's an amazing show. It's a fun show. I like to do kind of thematic shows in March. And this was a fun one to put together, just kind of, again, playing on that whole idea of like, here we are after a year, what is hiding in those studios? New, old, whatever it is, like what's in there that just needs to be seen and appreciated, right? Of course, the gallery is also always open online at christineclassengallery.com. What else do I want to say? Oh, I should also mention too, I wanted to thank Sarah for joining us today. She's represented by Vivian Art Gallery here in Calgary. So Vivian and I both have these prints up for sale. These collaborative prints between her and Heather. So yeah, thanks Sarah for joining us today with our little group. And what else can I say? All the art is available for purchase. So support some local artists. There's some great little pieces, a lot of price points, starting from like Sarah and Heather's prints are $400 each unframed. So a really great price point too for, collecting art. And up from there. But I'd love for everyone to see the show, including some of the artists. I haven't seen everybody. I mean, obviously, Lisa, I know you're in Edmonton, so I will have to send you some pictures. I don't even think you know what I put up in the show. I was just like, oh yeah, these were from your residency in Banff a couple of years ago. Let's put these up. They look great. I'll send you a picture tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
So it's 2 to 4 tomorrow. Is that correct?
2 to 4. You are expected to be at the gallery.
I know. That's why I'm checking. I'm like, why am I there?
He likes to talk, as does Chris. So if you want to come and have a conversation.
And
hopefully these pills will wear off by then.
Yes, exactly. And then Terry, well, and I'm not scheduling it all, but I'm kind of leaving it open. But yeah, Terry's going to come next weekend, and then I'll just talk to whoever else, like Laura, if you'd like to come. I'm
happy. I've had my vaccine, so I'm good.
There you go. So I want to do this for the duration of the show. Again, we're keeping it safe. It's only the maximum of 12 people in the gallery at once. So I encourage everybody to go to the website and sign up for it. And yeah, I'll hit everybody else and see if you're able to come. I know some people work as well. Like, I get it. But, Heather, Karrie, we'll also love to have you for a couple hours if it works out. If not, we'll figure out another plan. But I just really appreciate everybody joining me for my experimental Zoom panel discussion today.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thanks.
It's really fun.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's something.
Awesome. Thank you.
What's that? I didn't hear. I thought somebody said. Anyway,
I'm sorry. What did you say, Chris?
I said thank you. This is awesome.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard something else. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. I would love your feedback. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, would like to book a time for a show, like email, call.
We'd love feedback on Chris's recent outbursts there. We'd love to hear back from people. Yeah.
His thank you.
I have to wind this down now. It's 6:29. You've had more than your 7 minutes.
Right.
Here.
Some of us don't subscribe to linear time, Christine.
Yeah.
There you go, everyone.
Everything is everything.
And if you want a little bit more of that kind of discussion,
Or nothing.
come to the Magazine Classroom Gallery tomorrow from 2 to 4. But in all seriousness, I really appreciate everyone tuning in. And of course, yeah, your feedback is valuable. We're still all just figuring out how to do this virtual, the Zoom, the live streaming, the Facebook, the Instagram. But I appreciate everyone who kind of tuned in and joined us. It was a fun talk, and this is what I wanted, was just to have a great conversation with 8 really amazing artists. So yeah, support local art, support your artists, support your local businesses. They really, really need you right now. So without further ado, I'm gonna tune out. Bye, everyone.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Come and see the
Thanks,
show.
everyone. We'll see you soon.
Can we talk now?